Welcome to the Gym Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Ramage. We have a special edition episode for you today. We're going to look at the coach's view using Level Method and how it has improved or influenced them in their coaching careers. Today, I have Kelsey and I have Erin joining us. Welcome to the show, you two ladies.
Thank you.
Really exciting to have both of you. So first of all, Kelsey, why don't you just go ahead and tell us where you coach and just a real quick background on how long you've been doing it and your experience.
Okay, so I actually live in Portland, Tennessee, but I coach at CrossFit Gallatin, which is about 30 minutes away from where we live. So we're just outside of Nashville. I've been coaching at CrossFit Gallatin. I guess it'll be 2 years. Next month is when I technically started my internship. So I will have been there for 2 years. And we've been using Level Method, I think, for a year and a half. So have some really good insight of how it was going from being a brand new coach, brand new to the CrossFit world. I'd never stepped into a CrossFit gym before. The first time I did, I was asking if I could become a coach. So just over 2 years, I've been coaching CrossFit.
Oh, that's exciting. And that's actually going to give us some really great conversation pieces coming in, extremely fresh, like 6 months of CrossFit coaching. Yeah. And then along comes Level Method, which is a whole new thing of itself. How about you, Erin? Why don't you give us a quick intro?
Sure. I live in Stockholm, Sweden, and I coach at CrossFit Sickla and CrossFit Medis. And I just started full-time in July. After I've been doing CrossFit for 5 years and competed, and then started coaching about 2 years ago at a different gym. Or I did my level 1 about 2.5 years ago, and then did level 2. And I was at a different gym in Stockholm, and then was looking for somewhere else because they didn't really value our coaching. And I'm a qualified teacher. So I went over to CrossFit Medis, and then they opened CrossFit Sickla, and they had been using Level Method already when I came over there. So I went from coaching at a normal CrossFit gym to coaching at a Level Method gym.
Oh, this is good. That's going to be a really great way to have this conversation with kind of both of your coming in at different places. And let's see, Gallatin in Tennessee has been on for about 2.5 years, or a year and a half.
Sorry. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. About a year and a half. I remember my very first talk with the owner, John. But first of all, for both of you, I want you to know you have incredible leadership. John at CrossFit Gallatin, and then Oscar and Calais, is it Carl, however you want to say it, at Medis and Sickla. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but they've been in this Medis has been in with Level Method for over 2 years. So they're very, very adept to it. So first of all, Kelsey, so what was your first thinking or what was going through your head when John told you about Level Method?
I was so excited because I came from the Olympic weightlifting world. So coming to CrossFit, there were so many different movements. There was I was super overwhelmed when I first came, and we would have people join, and I remember vividly texting John, how do I scale this for these people? What's going to be most appropriate for them? So when he kind of brought up the idea of Level Method, I thought it was awesome. Super good.
Okay. So for you, it was I've got all these things I don't know, don't have experience doing, and this is going to bring it in line with me. About you, Erin, when you first were introduced to Level Method, you did have CrossFit experience. So what was your thinking?
I thought it was really cool, especially from a coach's standpoint, because at the other gym I was coaching at, it would be new people all the time. They didn't really value class coaching. They had a lot of open gym, and people could just do whatever they wanted all the time. And they had this fitness pass thing where people could just drop into class whenever with no experience. And so I never knew who could do what and who should do what and how much weight they should do and how to do. I spent lots of time getting to know people every single class. And then when I started coaching with Level Method, people just kind of knew what they should do. Or if I didn't know them, it was easier for me to point at, can you do this? Okay, cool. Then you do this one. So it just made everything faster and easier, and people did things correctly.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So you come from a completely different environment, coaching environment, where coaching was more obviously hands off, and the members weren't really uh, taught to engage with the coach or appreciate what the coach was saying. It sounds like.
No, I mean, I noticed that the people I coached really appreciated what I was doing, but it wasn't really the culture at the gym. Group classes weren't really the main thing. It was like, we're a CrossFit gym, we have group classes, but you can also do anything else you want.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the initial, if I get you to think back that far, the initial e-learning. You guys would go through the e-learning, which is depending on which version you did. The first version you may have both done was almost 6 hours long. The newest version is 4, and I get a lot of feedback from owners and that are like, I'm not sure my coach is going to be thrilled about doing that. So I want to hear exactly from you guys. We'll start with you, Kelsey, what you thought of the e-learning and your process through that.
Well, I loved it. I'm a very visual learner. I'm a hands-on learner. I also think it helped because I was in college at the time. So just adding more learning online, that was very easy for me to do. It was outstanding. It was a long time. John kept me really accountable, all right, let's get this part done by this time. And he was going through it at the same time. So for a leader to also be going through that as the same time that that was invaluable for me. And I loved every single part of the e-learning.
So that's definitely an approach some gyms take, going through it the same time as their coaches go through it. So did you guys have a lot of opportunity to talk back and forth and discuss what was going on, or you did? Okay.
Yeah, we discussed after each part, and then we also did testing together. So that was also really, really interesting the first time around, just trying to figure it out. But going through that and then talking about each thing, I mean, that was super helpful while going through it.
I want to get back to that in a moment. So don't let me forget that. But I do want to discuss that. Erin, for you, how was the e-learning for you?
To be honest with you, it didn't take me all 4 to 6 hours. A lot of it, because I have experience with movements and CrossFit, I didn't really need to watch every video all the way through and like read everything super carefully. It's a lot of like learning on the job. But for me, it was because I know most of the standards for most of the movements, and I understood what was on the map for the most part. And I understand training philosophies. It wasn't a super long learning curve time commitment, to be honest with you. Like, it was very helpful, and it's good to go back and to look it up. But it is really, I'm struggling. I speak Swedish a lot at work. It's almost self-evident, a lot of the stuff, if you have experience with the movements.
Yeah. I was going to comment, is English your first language or Swedish your first? English?
No, I'm from Pennsylvania, but I'm
say, because your English is ridiculously good. I'm going
No, I'm American. It's just I spend most of my days speaking Swedish, and I coach in Swedish, so I forget English words a lot.
That's incredible. But I do like, now this is a completely different perspective. And I really value that hey, I knew most of this stuff. And a lot of people say that when they go through the e-learning, is like, this is really just foundational stuff. But then there's also these pieces in there that are must knows. So you actually know how to read the map, and you know how to assess people. So I love the perspective that, hey, it's not that much. You can speed through. Hey, there's this really cool option where you can speed up the video to 1.5, 2, and it reduces the time of learning that much. And so I always try and tell people about that. It's like, you don't have to watch it in single speed. If this is new to you or not new to you, like, go through it. But so Kelsey, you did your assessments with John, and I talked to new gyms coming on a lot about, like, if you can make that happen, if you can put people in pairs or working together, go through these assessments, please do it. What's your reasoning, and why was that powerful for you?
Well, it was super when John introduced Level Method to our gym, I was the only other coach besides John. So it was very feasible for us to go through it together, since it was just the two of us. But I think that's why sometimes, if coaches give pushback on something new coming. Like we had a lot of members, not a lot, but give some pushback on introducing level method to the gym. Oh, I've been doing CrossFit 5-10 years. Why are we doing this new thing? So to actually go through it with John, for me, not only was I new to coaching, but that was really powerful. I was like, oh, if he's all in with this, then I'm 100% going to be all in. So that was super powerful to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Erin, when did you first do your assessment? I imagine you came in and you're like, okay, I get it. I know everything everywhere where I fit, but did you ever officially go through the process yourself?
Yeah. So I went through, I kind of matched up most of the levels with things that I had done recently. Like I knew I had maxed out my handstand push-ups recently, so I could just put that as my level. But we had our coach that's responsible for coach development go through a couple of the tests with me when I started. So we have like an onboarding process for new coaches. So I did a few that I hadn't done recently. And most of them I was able to kind of update myself because a lot of them are movements that we do anyway, like 1 rep max front squat.
Right.
But I did go through the ones that I hadn't tested before. And then we actually, soon after I started, like 3 weeks after, we had a testing period in the gym. So I just joined some of the classes as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, both of your gyms, if I'm remembering correctly, I know Erin's, you guys use the level method programming. Kelsey, do you guys use the level method programming? Let's talk about that and how that's influenced your coaching, either positive, negative, whatever you want to say. We'll start with you. Erin.
Okay. I actually, back in June, when I started working full time, I took over being responsible for programming. And because our classes are 50 minutes long, we have to adjust level methods programming to fit our time period. So for the last 3-4 months, I've been responsible for taking the session plans and adjusting them to fit 50 minutes and making sure that they can fit in our gym, and looking over, like we do some adjustments with different levels, like some substitutions. We only have 1 GHD, for example, so we go and like substitute for running and stuff like that. So it's been really cool to have that experience with adjusting programming and reading, the thoughts behind it. It's also made everything really consistent. So I used to have like an A, B, and a C, and that was it. And I had to make up my own warm up and my own progressions and my own teaching. And it would take me 15-20 minutes plus to get ready for every class. But then with the session plans, I could just read it. I don't know. I mean, I'm a teacher, but I could read it 5 to 10 minutes beforehand and just go in and coach and know that everybody else was going to do the same thing. So it was a lot more standardized and better for all the other coaches as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I didn't actually realize that you were in charge of programming for there. So that's really cool. I've actually visited Matisse in probably a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when we were in Stockholm. And I was incredibly impressed with the coaching. It was consistent. You guys had a mini map next to your TV. And that was like this really cool coaching, like the symmetry. The coach was like showing here and then going and showing on the map. And it was just, the flow was really cool. Did you guys set up the same setup in the new gym?
Yeah, we it's finally like everything's set up now. We just had a whiteboard for a while where we had to write everything on the whiteboard. So a lot of writing. But now we have a whiteboard that we do notes. We have a big screen, and then there's a mini map right under the screen. So it's all just really easy. And a lot of our members at Cicla are really new. So we have to explain a lot of stuff to them, but it's really easy because they just come in and it's like, here's the map.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. I've been extremely impressed with how operations, the coaching, the process, the onboarding process for members and for coaches at that facility have been pretty amazing. It's a bigger place. And also I love that you brought up substitutions for programming, because that's a big question I get a lot when people are asking about, if they're going to use level method. They're like, well, we only have 1 GHD, or we can't run. It's snowing outside like it does in Sweden in the winter. And so how has that been for you doing those substitutions? And like, I know Matisse has a very unique, it's like an old bomb shelter. So it's got these big doors and separate rooms, and it's a little underground. So it's not like super just go run outside. So how has it been? How's it been for you adjusting?
Well, recently, actually, especially with Corona, we've had to change some things because we also don't have one rower for every member and we don't have one
Right.
bike for every member. So when I took over, I was trying to be a bit more creative with the running substitutions because before it would just be like, I don't know, they weren't very good, to be honest with you. But so a lot of the time I'll substitute a machine because I know that we have enough that we can put that in.
Right.
We'll do like, and we've discussed a lot of creative options like low box step ups for running. I've looked up lots of different things like med ball throws for GHDs. Um, we're starting to talk about new substitutions like lateral hops over the bar for running. There's been a lot of like single unders for running, but that we've kind of phased that out.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this conversation because what I do tell people is that the Level Method programming page has a lot of this conversation going on. And now I'm realizing that I need to get you more involved in that because you have some excellent ideas. You just volunteered yourself for something there.
Sure, I think it's really fun. I love creative solutions and substitutions and finding things that fit with other things.
Yeah. And some people don't. So it's really cool to have this legion of people putting stuff in and talking through it. So what were you going to say? Keep going.
Oh no, yeah, that's mostly it. There's like we can get there. Yeah, I have thoughts about things on the map as well, but we can get into that later.
Yeah. So Kelsey, as far as programming, do you guys stick 100% to it? Do you change it? What happens at Gallatin?
Well, our classes, well, they're an hour long, so typically we get through everything, which is really good. Sometimes, depending on classes, we have some chattier classes than others. So sometimes warm-ups are cut a little short, just based on the class. But other than that, I mean, our members are on top of it when it comes to programming. Programming's on top of the screen. People are walking over to the map, making sure they're where they need to be. We're good to go. The coaching notes have been invaluable. We have more coaches now. We have 2 other coaches. So the consistency across the coaching board has been outstanding because before when like John was just doing the programming, I was constantly blowing up his phone. Well, what do you mean by this? What is this movement? What does this mean? And he was probably like, oh my gosh, this girl won't leave me alone. So that's been invaluable, the coaching notes. And then also the Facebook group, just like you guys were talking about, we don't have any GHDs. We don't have ski ergs. We don't have a lot of the stuff that typically comes up in programming. So I love utilizing the Facebook group and just searching whatever sub we're talking about that day, and then also changing it up for different movements. So the Level Method group has been also invaluable, and that in turn helps us coaches to deliver better programming and coaching to our members.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point. I do tell people to tune into that resource because a lot of conversation has happened in the past. Like someone's like, we don't have sleds. There was sleds one time. We don't have sleds. I saw like 5 amazing opportunities for replacements that I'd never even thought of before. I'm like, I've never even seen that before. That's incredible. So it's been a really cool resource. So let's just talk openly about how Level Method has helped you, has helped in coaching specifically, how it's helped your members. Let's just freeform whatever you guys want to say. And Erin, do you have any thoughts on anything you want to share in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really helpful both in group classes and with personal training because like even if you look at like one day's, like the programming's really helped as well because it's got weights for different things. And even sometimes members will go in between a level or they'll mix a level up or they'll, they're really strong in deadlifts, but they're not so strong in push-ups. So they'll do a heavy deadlift and a lighter push-up. And we've been like, that's been really helpful with my personal training clients to get them to understand that. But also for me to program for personal training clients, knowing where they're at on the map or doing some kind of like using the map in order to do programming and seeing like where they could be, where they should be, how to build a workout, how to build, an amount of reps or what kind of weight they should be landing at, etc. And also things like I wouldn't have thought necessarily about testing 8 rep max and then 5 rep max and then 3 rep max and then 1 rep max before looking at that.
Right. Yeah. It's more appropriate for people who haven't learn to hold such a high load is to not go to those lower reps, but it's always been a standard. I know when I owned my gym, the 1 rep max was like the standard in everything, whether it was the right or wrong thing. It's just what you did.
Mm.
And this kind of opened my mind to how much more appropriate it is to not always be doing that with newbies. It's a great opportunity for injury. Um, so
Yeah.
it's been a new, a really good like guideline
Mhm.
for experienced coaches and new coaches alike. Like, oh, okay, yeah, we just need to be working on an 8 rep max or a 5. How about you, Kelsey?
It's same exact thing with the personal training. One of my favorite personal training clients in the world, her and her husband just joined the gym after we did PT for a while. Then she was like, I kind of want to do that map thing. And I was like, let's do the map thing. And then she was like, oh, I want to do classes now. And I was like, perfect. Let's get you signed up and just joining in gym classes now. But also, my soccer girls, I have 8 high school soccer athletes, and I'm doing their off-season strength training right now. And they came in and they were like, all right, 1 rep maxes. And I'm like, nope,
Yeah.
you guys can't even do an air squat. So go, like, just experiencing the level method for over a year and learning new things each and every time that I coach has made me a better coach for my high school girls. And the same thing, it's also, the coach's view and level method and seeing where everybody's levels are at. I just had a jump rope clinic because we have like 32 people in yellow and orange for jump rope. So I called I didn't call everybody out, but I listed everybody's names and I was like, hey, this is why your overall level isn't going up. So we're having a jump rope clinic on Saturday. Here you go. Boom. And I think we had 8 or 9 people come out. So that also has helped not only increase revenue for the gym, but also help those people as well. And I was able to give them more progressions to increase that low level.
Yeah, I love those in the app where you can read,
Yep.
hey, this is how many people are, especially things like who's really close to getting their double unders but haven't. And you can do a clinic just for them, or who's really close to getting their first their 7 strict pull-ups or 4 strict pull-ups, whatever it is. Let's work with them because they probably want to learn how to kip and we want to get them to that place. So it's been really powerful, but you did say something that might scare people. And because level method is really, really powerful for leading people into personal training. You just said I had personal training clients and now they want to go to class.
Yeah.
You lost personal training clients. So speak to me about that, because there's probably coaches going on, so I'm going to lose revenue because of the level method. Thank you very much.
No, we had, her name was Jennifer, and her husband, John, was actually training with John. And Jennifer's goal, she came to me, I guess she was 5 or 6 months after she had her baby. So she just wanted to put on muscle mass. So we were just doing bodybuilding. We weren't doing any conditioning, nothing. She wanted to get strong again and then eventually do some sort of conditioning. So when she found out about the map, I mean, that was our conversation piece a lot of the time. So we still one-on-one went through all the different testing. And then after that, her goals shifted, which in turn is why group classes were then such a great option for her. And John's been really good. Every month or every week, actually, I go through everybody's level, see where their weakest are. And kind of during class, after class, I'm like, hey, let's talk about maybe 1 sessions of 30-minute options like that. So level method, obviously you're not going to lose your personal training clients, but it's a great way to say, hey, this is where you're really weak. Let's get a game plan together to kind of work on those weaknesses to bump you up.
Right. Yeah. And also, if you're working with a personal training client, you can't always assume that they always want to be a personal training client, and vice versa. I think it's really dangerous. People, like, someone's in a class, they never want to be PT. Well, if you want to elevate somebody's skill, that PT is the fastest way to do it. And this draws that out. It's very easy to identify. Like, if you work with me, we can get that front squat up to where you want it to be. Like, those, or we can get a lot closer. Erin, any thoughts about any of that?
Yeah, I mean, it helps both. I've actually never had someone go from just being personal training to group, like, they're not like, ooh, I want to do that. Because And I think it comes partially from my attitude that I think group training actually is our worst quality product. Like
Right.
personal training is actually our highest quality product. Group
Mhm.
training is just doing what we could do in personal training with a lot of people. And so when they're in group class, yeah, level method helps them be better than just like the masses doing some whatever program. But the next step further, like, because I have a client now that I do the daily programming with in personal training, and they get so much more challenge out of it. We can mix up the levels, we can level up every time, we can see what the progression is. And it it helps me to sell more personal training. Also, like when we have development talks, we can check to see what their strengths are. It means we don't have to pinpoint their weaknesses. I have one client that can't get a pull up and she doesn't want to work on it. She doesn't care. She wants to get stronger because she's strong.
Mhm.
She doesn't want to see that blue and be like, that's what defines me. She wants to see her
I love
brown
it.
and black and get
Yeah.
stronger.
Yeah. I like that. Sometimes we focus so much on the overall level, and we forget that there's people who just want to be strong, or they just
Mhm.
want it to be gymnasty, and you can still just use those levels to pinpoint where you're at. Another thing that you said is interesting because it's the only way I've ever used level method. Because I used to own my CrossFit gym, but I sold it before I got involved with level method. So I've used level method for personal training only,
Mm.
and I actually I actually did the programming with them, but it was so fun because, like you said, they might be brown in their deadlift, yellow in their upper body push, and blue in their overall, let's say their ventilation, and that's what the whole workout is about. And they're doing this extremely personalized workout. Of course, you have one person there working with you, and there's a ton of value there. The other thing that I absolutely love is putting someone through the assessments in a one-on-one scenario. Um, and
Mhm.
so you guys have done group assessments and one-on-one assessments. Let's talk a little bit about those. Um, your experience with that.
Oh, well, we do our one-on-one assessments with our onboarding process. So that's incredible, obviously, because it's just you and the client. We've done, I guess, two assessments within the gym and everybody's kind of together. And this past time, we actually had it where in the month of October, any member that wanted to, they could bring a friend for free while we were testing. And so
Oh,
well, and it's funny. I mean, not a ton of people came, but it was really cool to see this very experienced member guiding this new person. Like, I mean, they would just like look at the map and be like, holy cow, what is going on? But for that person to explain to them, like, no, here's the double white lines. We have 8 reps first, and then we have 5 reps. To see that conversation sparking and to have that new member already have kind of a buddy in the class, that was really cool to see. Now, Erin, I don't know how big your guys' gym is, but our classes, I'd say we probably average like 6 to 7 people. So it hasn't really been quote unquote chaotic. It works very well for us in a group setting as well. But I also think that's because we don't have a ton of people in class. I like the group assessments because when someone's going for like a deadlift PR or something, it's really cool to see everyone
Yeah.
get super excited for them.
yeah.
That's the coolest thing to me. But I think one-on-one assessment going through it is crucial
Isn't
when
it
there's a
fun?
new person
Yeah.
joining the gym. Crucial, very crucial.
I
No,
think
I agree. We haven't always been super, like, especially with our new gym with Sikla, we haven't been super strict when people have signed up that they have to do personal training.
Mhm.
And that's why it's been like we normally have that. But I think when they first signed people up, like when we were first getting the gym going, they just were like, get in, come on,
Yeah.
go to
Yeah.
classes.
Right.
And then it was those people that didn't have a clue what was going on
Yeah.
when it was testing classes. We also had a cap of 12 people at that time.
Mhm.
So, and a brand new full-time coach. So it
Mhm.
was a bit chaotic. I'm not saying it doesn't work. It just
Mhm.
needs to be.
Well, I think this is a really valuable conversation because I've talked with a lot of gyms of varying sizes, and the ones with large classes. Let's just keep this pre-COVID. The ones with large classes most of them had to revamp how they did assessments. A lot to like what you were saying, Kelsey. They're either like, you know, putting them into groups or having extra coaches, which is what a lot of them
Mhm.
do, or they just do like one test a day as like their first part of the day, and then they go ahead and do a regular workout the second part, depending on what the test is, so that they can like have so much more control and manage that group. They're not biting off so much to chew.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it has to, with level method, when you're doing group assessments, there's way more than one way to skin that cat. You really have to be specific into what's going to work. Like you said, with Sikla, it's like all these new people that were just kind of thrown in and they're learning as they go. Heck yeah, that's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. Yeah. But it's really important to understand that gyms coming in have all these different systems and processes, and you never know how they're looking at it. So we got to look at all sides. It would be stupid not to address all sides of here's where some of the tougher things are with level method assessments. So I like that perspective. So we just have a few minutes left. So if Kelsey, go ahead and share anything else that you might want to share or talk about that what might be helpful to new coaches coming on, or to coaches looking at level method and not quite sure if they're buying into it like their owner is.
Mm-hmm. I think it's super, if you've never coached a group class before, I mean, you have the coaching notes, you have the outline of class, you have links to certain movements, certain warm-ups, if you have no clue what they are. So I say this all the time, especially we had a newer coach and she was trying to, learn everything. And I was like, if you read it, you know what you have to coach for the day. If you say it with confidence and do it with confidence, you will be fine. You will be absolutely fine. So she's done, seeing her come into coaching through the level method has been outstanding. The coaching notes are there for you. The progressions are there for you. The map is amazing. But I also think it's very important to go through testing yourself so that you in turn can tell people what it's supposed to feel like, why we can't just go to a 1 rep max if you can't even do 3 reps at the weight before that. So I think it's very important to go through testing, to be open to change. I know people don't like to change, be open to change, and then also just immerse yourself in learning, because the level method has outstanding resources.
That's awesome. Erin, and then go ahead and share, and then I have one more question to ask you guys.
Sure. I just would ask what someone's motivation was for not wanting to do it, because it's kind of like no, but honestly, like coming from, I was like in the classic CrossFit, like competitors world in a different gym. And I honestly don't know why a coach especially would push back from wanting to implement it, unless it meant for them, their own ego, that they wouldn't be as high of a level because they can't do a level before, like they sped right to Diane without doing lots of push-ups, for example. Right. Like, unless it was that was holding them back, I honestly don't know what the argument against using it as a coach is, because it's a hand-delivered tool to help you scale things and help everybody.
That's perfect. And that actually drives exactly into the thing I wanted to wrap up with was, we've got some objections that I've heard is, one, if you got this programming where everyone's doing these different movements, how do you manage it? Because it's a lot of movements. That's impossible to run a class with all these different movements going on.
It's impossible to run a class when people can't do different, like, it's like, okay, we're doing hang power cleans at 60 and 43, and then you're going to do double unders and toes to bar. That's impossible when you have people, they're like, well, I can't do a toes to bar. What do I do now?
Right.
I don't know what a hang power clean is.
Right.
I can't jump rope. And then all of a sudden you have to think of 50,000 things in your head. And like, how do you manage a class that way?
So you're saying it actually simplifies. It's the opposite of what people think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Kelsey, I've had people tell me, the other objection is, if I'm going to let you guys run with this because I'm pretty passionate about it, but people told me, if you take away that I'm the one in control of everybody's modifications, what's my job? We're going to go there because I do get asked this a lot.
Wait a minute.
I don't know.
What?
Yeah. So the objection is, and this is real. And so we have to address this because it's real. Coaches say, if you take, if during class, I'm not telling people what they're doing for their weights, for the workouts, what am I going to do? That's literally an objection I've had multiple times from coaches. So I just want to hear from you guys what you think about that.
Well, so I've been to gyms where it's, here's the workout, 3, 2, 1, go. No explaining what a snatch is. No explaining what a toes to bar is. No explaining, go. And the new people are like, holy cow, what did we just get ourselves into? Now, as a coach, my main job when people come to class is to coach them properly on technique, make sure that they're moving well. And when they come to the gym, my job is to fill their cup so that they can go out, be the best mom they can be the best boss they can be, whatever. The level method, I mean, has taken away all the stress for me. This is what everyone should be doing. Okay, we're still kind of in the middle of orange and blue. Great. Let's kind of find something in the middle. Let's lower the weight. Let's up the weight. So I've never thought of that response to the level method, but
Well, I had to ask it because it's come up so many times in objections from coaches. And so, Erin, do you have anything to add to that? Because you just have a look of bewilderment on your face. Like, that's how I feel too, just so you know. It's very similar to my feeling.
Okay, if they want to have control over modifying though, then you can still make different decisions if you want to. Like, level method can be used as a really good guideline for scaling stuff. Yeah, okay. So blue members are supposed to do jumping chest to bar pull-ups, but it's a lot of volume and there's a few people that can do banded pull-ups. Let them do banded pull-ups. Like, you're an adult, you can make decisions. Your hands aren't tied by this system. It's a suggestion and it's really, really helpful suggestion.
Right.
But also, can you define your job then if you think your job is only to modify movements?
Exactly. Well, and I think Erin hit it on the head. She's like, we're refining movement. We're getting it down to better movement, and we're filling their cup emotionally as well, which is a big deal. But I just needed someone else to say it other than me. It's so common. It really surprises me. And my response usually, man, if that's what your coach thinks, maybe you need to reevaluate whether they're a coach for you or not. And that's pretty, that's a pretty harsh statement, but really coaching should never just be all I'm doing is modifying movement. You need a 95 and you need 45. And I think you should.
How do they know all that? If they think that's the only job, how do they know what people need? Because then they wouldn't be getting to know the members because their job is to know what weights they need.
Right.
How would they know what weights they need?
I kind of feel like level method actually opens up your bandwidth for more important, higher level things personally.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, okay.
Well, I think, really quick, what Erin said earlier about ego, I think that's very, very, very big. And I think, I'm very thankful that we implemented level method kind of right when I started, especially coming from a weightlifting background and not a CrossFit background. I was very bad at everything CrossFit. Very, very bad. I wasn't that high up on the map. Now, obviously with time, all that's increased, but I also think too, I wasn't like, oh, well, my Fran time is 2:25, so I don't have to test it. I tested it 3 years ago. That's my time. So I think that ego also is a very big thing with coaches, especially too, and maybe not wanting to implement something that will actually kind of be like, no, this is really, this is your fitness level.
Yeah.
So I think that's very big too.
And a good analogy that one of the owners, Sean, came up with was he said, level method is a tool for you to see where you're at in your fitness journey. Just like a scale is a tool to see where you're at in your weight, in your overall health. So you can't, you need to know where you are at now, because I may have weighed 125 on the scale 4 years ago, but has no reflection on where I'm at now. And I think that is hard for some coaches who live in the glory days of when all they were doing was training. If I were to put all my PRs in level method, I would feel pretty great about showing everybody my level. But that's not real. It's not a true judge of where I'm at now in my health journeys, in fitness journey. So any last thoughts before we close this out?
No, I'm really glad it's a thing. Like it's just, honestly, it's helped so much with programming group classes, and it makes people appreciate coaching even more. And it's helped us to, I was reflecting on this earlier, like the progressions toward a pull-up and the progressions towards push-ups. It's like, I have a lot of people that are working towards a pull-up, and we can see small steps instead of being like, well, I can't do a pull-up. I still can't do a pull-up. I still can't do a pull-up. Like, you have ways of showing progress, even if you're not there yet. And that's so helpful.
Yeah, that's powerful. That is powerful. I use the analogy that's maybe a little more extreme is I want to do a muscle up, a ring muscle up. And I'm like, well, there's a lot of steps before that, but
Mhm.
now at least you have the roadmap to it.
Mhm.
So, it's where reality and then goal setting come together, and then you can chip your way to those uh, ring muscle ups, which are really hard.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, ladies, thank you very much. This was extremely valuable, and I know anybody that listens to this will really enjoy it. Listeners, thank you very much for checking out this episode of Gym Mastery Podcast. I am Scott, and you should know that by now, you listening. But hit that subscribe button if you want to continue to hear more about great practices in coaching. Hit that subscribe button. We have a podcast come out every week. And if you need to know more about Level Method or want to know more about Level Method, it's super simple. levelmethod.com. Click on the links, watch quick videos, and set up a call with me or another person on the team to get a nice peek under the hood of what Level Method is.